my name's Irene Diaz. I'm from Los Angeles. I write a lot of love songs. I perform, I tour, I record, and like music's just a big part of my life.
A big part of your life.
A really big part of my life.
And especially for the last, it's been like 11 years, 12 years?
Sheesh,
since you started putting stuff out?
Yeah, 10 years.
10 years.
The first EP came out 10 years ago. And actually celebrating, like the 31st is going to be, July 31st is like 10 year mark.
Tomorrow.
For that project, yeah.
That's awesome. How do you feel about that? It's been 10 years since you put that out. What's that feeling now?
Man, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking just how much experience that I've been through just these past 10 years when it comes to just recording and performing and writing. And yeah, it's been like just an adventure. Like, I don't know where the time went. Like 10 years, that's a decade.
That is.
Yeah.
Is there, I mean, I was listening to a lot of your previous interviews, and a lot you talk about is like this artist evolution, right? Within those 10 years, right? What do you feel like you're evolving into now, this new era that you're being a part of?
Yeah, so definitely talking a lot about evolving, and I feel like the past 10 years I've been kind of exploring, just the sound that I gravitate towards, and I'm realizing that I love all genres and sounds, but I think right now I'm kind of gravitating back towards like that first EP that I put out, which was very soulful, very like piano driven, very raw. And for me, like, I'm kind of like wanting to go back to that.
Yeah. Speaking of the piano driven stuff, I saw a recent video you put out on your social media, which is you playing the piano with your tia in the background, right?
Yeah.
Your tia Maria. Why was that important for you? Why was that important for you to perform that with your tia there?
Because she's been there. She's been there. Like, I remember when I first started performing out, like she'd come to like my open mics and just different performances. I used to play at this one wine bar in Glendale, and her and my other tia would like always come out and just see me. And like she hasn't come out to like a lot of shows just because of like health issues and stuff. So for her to be at my house and like I was like, oh, I want to play. Let me play you my song. And like she's just like super supportive, but also very like if she doesn't like something, like she'll like tell me like, oh, you changed it. Why did you change it? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm exploring. No, but she's such a big part of like my life. And that the piano it's the one that's at my house. And she helped like pretty much buy it for me. Like, yeah, so
you've had that piano since you were young, or since you were?
I think since I was like around like 9.
Okay.
8 or 9. But yeah, those things are expensive.
That's what I was about to say. I saw the size of the piano. That looked like one of those grand pianos. Oh. Do you know what, I guess, because a lot of the time I think about the things that I like, even thinking about the first bass that I got and like the process that it was to get that, and just like helping my parents. Do you know like if there was some type of like that kind of connection where like the effort and the work that went into getting that specific piano?
Well, I know for like for that piano, my tias, like they all kind of pitched in, and my grandma as well. So my tias, they don't have kids, so they were definitely wanting to spoil all of us. So I think that was like a big thing, is like my parents like really didn't have like a lot of money. Like they'd be always like fighting about money, and like that's where my tias came in and like gave us like all that support and just care, and family coming together like that. That's
amazing. That's amazing. And I'm glad that you have that connection with that piano. Have they you mentioned that one of your tias it's been a health issue that doesn't allow her to be in at your shows, but has your family seen you perform? Especially recently, you had this whole residency, right?
Yeah.
Were any of your family members able to make it through there?
Yeah, you know what, like sometimes I tell my family, but like I don't really tell them. So it's like I don't want to be like, oh yeah, like come to my show. Like it's like, okay, let me just like venture off, and like if you come, it's cool.
Yeah.
But like I think it was the third show. No, the second show. Like my brothers showed up, and I was just like so just like, oh my god, like I didn't, because I was in the back, and then like I think it was my wife who came and was like, hey, someone's here to see you. And then I came out, and then I was like, oh my god, like my two younger brothers, they came out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was just like so just like, oh, like I didn't even tell you, and you like came. And
But what did that mean to you for them to show up to your show?
I don't know. I think for me, because like I'm a bigger sister, like I feel like both of them are like artists. Okay. Like my younger brothers, like they do like graffiti art. They're super talented. So I feel like them coming out to see me, like I want to be like that inspiration for them to like keep doing something. But also to have like that love there, you know, like you know, it's your brothers. You've been through some crazy shit, like growing up, and like just to have them there and like you know, listen to my songs and stuff.
So your brothers came out. That's awesome. And I see that you also have like was it friends that were opening up for you? Because I saw that you also made a call out for artists, right, to help and open for you. So what was that process like to have people support you in that kind of way?
Man, so I didn't know who I wanted to open up for me. Like it was a little bit stressful because like the venue just like kind of puts it on you to like create this show. And at first we thought, oh, we're just gonna have like one opener like for each night. And then it turned out like I think like maybe the week before they're like, oh no, you need 2 openers. And we're like, oh my god. So like I ended up putting a call out and just seeing like what happened. There was one person who got like a lot of like, oh, you should have this person open up. And I was like, oh yeah, let's like give you that space, you know, you have a lot of people that support you. But also like I think the first night it was Pardon Me Sir and Camille Rose. Pardon Me Sir was an artist that my wife really like enjoyed, and so like bringing them onto the bill was like, it was really cool because like it was the first night, like their music is like very kind of like I don't know, like shoegaze, like yeah, like super just like chill. Like I was like, oh yeah, I love that. Yeah. And like the second artist was like, it was very like pop. Yeah. So it was interesting to like kind of like see like how like, oh, these 2 different genres of music that like I've kind of explored. Yeah. So to have that feeling of like, oh, these are kind of like reflections of like what I like, what I've like been like kind of like exploring. And then the second it was June 14th, we had Crisol. I don't know if you know Crisol.
Yeah, I've heard of Crisol.
Yeah, but that was actually the first time I had met her. Oh wow. Yeah, but like she lives in downtown as well, so like I was like walking around like the Grand Central Market, and like I had already put out my call to like, oh, like does anybody want to open? And she had commented, and I was like, oh cool, that's cool. And then all of a sudden, you know, like I'm like next to like the Donut Man by in the Grand Central Market. And then like I see her and I'm like, oh my god, oh shit. I was like, oh my god, this is kind of serendipitous. Yeah. Okay, like you opened for me. And so that's how that came about. And then the Silvertone, like I asked him like if he wanted to jump on the bill, and I've just been listening to his music, and it's very soulful, very like old school like music, and I was like, hell yeah, like if you want to open, like come, like let's do it. And so that was the second night, and then we didn't have a third night, but we ended up going to San Jose. But the last night we had Deladesso. I don't know if you know Deladesso, the artist.
He does animations.
He does all kinds of stuff. Yeah, but he's doing music now. Okay, cool. Yeah, he does like grime art. Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, I've seen it. I was on his show early 2022. Okay. And it was crazy. I don't know if you've seen it, because like I did. No, I haven't. I did my pop songs, Call Me and Lovers and Friends. And he has this whole studio like set up. Like it's like you're entering his mind. It's just insane, because he has all kinds of different props, all kinds of different like art, like pieces just around, and and we were able to perform and play. I had like a mask on, like just like doing just some crazy shit. But like his music is so weird.
Okay.
And I freaking love it. Like it's just so just like, what the fuck did he just say?
That's awesome, because I would assume that you would choose somebody who's kind of in the same kind of genre or realm as you, but I love the way that you said you're just different, all of it coming together in one place.
Yeah, I wanted something like totally different. Like no, it was I think we both wanted music that we enjoyed, and like we definitely got that. Like he performed with another friend that we've known for a while, Barnaby.
Okay.
Like he does like beats and like lo-fi beats. So they performed together. And then I had another artist that I had found online named Aliac. And I don't know, it was really good. Like just every night, like I felt like there was just like, it felt good to like perform right after really great music and just to feel that energy.
That's great. Because even the makeup of your music, when we think of the things that you're interested in, like I've seen and I've read that you're interested in, like, you know, that a large influence was like Sade and like Mazzy Star, but then we also have Carolyn who likes Tool, right? So it's like these things that come together.
Yeah.
She just, how'd you know that? but it's that, right? It's like all these genres coming together to also like make up the music that you make, right? And I think one of the biggest things that shows that was your last project, which is Lovers and Friends, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that you said about that, it was like learning how to build confidence again.
Yeah.
Building that project. Could you tell us a little bit more about what that process was like in building that confidence?
Yeah. So when I first started coming out, like as an artist, like I really didn't think much of my voice. I was just singing and I was just writing these songs, so they had to be sung. But like, you know, people have told me like, oh, your voice. And it just never clicked in my mind. And when I did the pop album, like I didn't know that it was going to go pop, because I worked with like a couple producers and I really didn't know what I wanted. I had an idea, but then it just like gravitated towards pop, because I think I just gave a lot of like freedom, and I was like, okay, let's see what happens. So during that process, like kind of like hearing like the production and hearing the sound, like it just like, it really made me feel self-conscious, because I was, you know, also like the recording process, like I was worried about like a lot of like, oh, like just like all these like stupid little pops, like, like, oh, like, am I going to hit that note? Like just all self-conscious. And it was like, it was really difficult for me just to know that like, oh, like I have a voice, but I hadn't like actually like really discovered it. And so during that process, like I kind of like lost like my confidence, and I lost myself. And it was just, I think it was like, that process started in 2017. And then 2018, I started taking voice lessons, and because I'd never taken voice lessons before. But like, I feel like during you know, those lessons, like one thing that the teacher told me was like, if you believe like you can do it, like if you believe that you can sing it, then you're going to be able to sing it. And like I kind of took that, like it was more like therapeutic session rather than like teaching me how to sing. It was like kind of just building my confidence back up. And I was able to kind of discover like different voices inside of myself, like my head voice. I was able to discover like my chest voice and like singing like deeply. So I think over time, like I've been learning like how I can use my voice in different ways and in different songs. And it's been like really eye-opening for me, and it's helped me like gain a lot more confidence. But also like me kind of finding out like each song also has its own way, like unique way of wanting to be sung. But also like my input as well, like, oh, how do I want to sing this? So it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, that makes me kind of also think, has there been songs that you've thought needed to be sung a certain way, and then you realize it actually was another type of way?
Yeah, this actually happened recently. Like I think I'm like discovering this like recent. because we were singing, my wife and I were making a song, and like I was singing it more in my head voice, and it sounded like a little more like playful, because that voice is it's like a little more like, yeah, it's definitely like more playful. And then so like I was like, maybe I want to try singing it in like a lower voice, like just like a little bit deeper, and it kind of changed like the feeling of the song. And yeah, like we changed it up, and I kept like a lower voice for it. So
that's awesome. Something you mentioned right now and that you said was that you really didn't think about your voice until you reached that project specifically, right? How did you navigate then that time before Lovers and Friends? How did you view your voice, and how did you view singing at those moments? I guess kind of growing up in a way, you know?
Yeah. I didn't really think much of my voice. Like before Lovers and Friends, like I was just like singing. I was just playing shows and like maybe doing like a few vocal warm-ups and stuff, but like I wasn't really thinking about like how I was singing. Like if it came out, it came out. But yeah, I really didn't have like any control over it, because like it wasn't like a conscious like effort.
So then where did that come from? Where did your desire to sing and to be, a singer in music? Because I also read that you were going to college, right? And you decided to drop out and fully pursue this music.
I'm a dropout.
and fully pursue music, right?
Yeah.
So where did, what shifted that for you? Or what was that moment when you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do music?
Yeah, so I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do with school, like what I wanted to major in. I had gone to like community college, then I went up to Seattle to like try to find myself, and I took some classes, but then I was like, oh, like I don't want to like rack up this debt, like fuck that.
There's money.
And like I came back to like, after going to school in Seattle, like I came back and I went to PCC for a bit, and I was like trying to figure out like what I want. I was just doing like a lot of generals. Obviously like I took some music classes in college, and that like helped kind of expand me knowing like different chord progressions and just like music theory a bit more. But yeah, it was like 2010, and I was just like, you know what, like I don't think I want to do that. Like, let me just like try to like do this just full time, and like this is what I want to do. This is going to be my focus. And I haven't looked back. Like I don't regret it. Yeah.
That's awesome, because it's funny you said you went to college to get that kind of like, in a way, kind of more formal kind of training. But I read that you also kind of grew up with the like musical family, right? So there were parts of it that just came together, to that. For you growing up, I read that you're from Highland Park. And I also saw that you recently made a video of you walking through that neighborhood. And do you feel like it's changed over time?
Oh, yeah.
And especially for you, what's your relationship to Highland Park?
Damn, it's crazy. Because like I remember growing up in Highland Park, it's changed so much. It's just like, it's not the same. I went to Franklin High School, and like the streets were kind of like, it was like a bit rough. Like there was like a lot of like gang violence and just a lot of different things. Like my parents like wouldn't like actually let us outside of the house, like in the front yard, because like I remember growing up and there being just like kind of like violence. So I think with that neighborhood, like I related to like it being kind of like violent, and like it's just crazy how it transformed. Like it wasn't something that I don't think a lot of people saw, but it was just like, it just kept happening. I think it happened with like, obviously we're talking about like gentrification, and we're talking about just like displacing people, like rents going crazy. Now it's like you can't afford anything there. It's like, fuck, like, I think my relationship is like, part of me thinks like, damn, like my parents growing up, like we always rented. We lived in an apartment building, and like sometimes like I feel bitter, like why didn't you guys like buy a house? Like why didn't you guys do this? But then I think like one is like, it's not the same neighborhood that they grew up in, that we all grew up in. And like being renters, like I think like I can't like hold that against them, because like it was a pretty violent neighborhood. And obviously like my parents, like they didn't have like a lot of money. But like it's just crazy. It's just crazy to see like how much like the community has changed. And like I don't know, it's happening everywhere.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true. And speaking of the environment, was music in a way of you to like navigate those moments and growing up, or what did music mean for you actually for growing
Like
up?
around that, like growing up?
Yeah, I guess to clarify my question,
Yeah.
what did music mean for you growing up? Yeah.
Well, I was taking piano lessons like when I was a kid, and like I said that I wanted to take piano lessons like at 7, like that's what my mom said. So like music meant like every Saturday morning I had to wake up early, miss like cartoons, and go to a freaking lesson. And I did not like that. But like I kept doing it. Another thing, it meant like rather than like practicing, like I loved like writing my own little pieces like on the piano. I hadn't started songwriting on the piano. I started songwriting on the guitar.
Okay.
So my dad's a guitarist, so I started writing like songs when I was like around 16. So music has been like kind of like an outlet for me. So yeah.
You mentioned that you started making music at 16, but you started songwriting with guitar. That's the way you started. Do you remember the first song you made with guitar?
I remember the first song that I performed because it was a poem from one of my friends had made a poem, and I wrote music to it, and I wrote a melody to it, and I sang it. But remembering like the first song that I wrote, I feel like around the time, because like I was going to church, and they were like very just like spiritual songs, like, but also like a little bit depressing. I don't remember like the exact like first song that I wrote, but I remember that just that feeling of like calling out to God and feeling just like depressed.
Okay. But what gave you, or what about yesterday were you able to fully like write and complete a song? What was it about that moment?
I think I had like an idea of like the style that I wanted to do, because like I'm wanting to like go back to like playing piano more. So I was able to like kind of like create a whole song just on piano, and that was like it's just inspiring for me that I can be able to like still do that, because like I haven't like really put myself in that position.
Yeah. I do want to talk about also that transition where I was going through your history with music, and I saw that in October of 2021 you released the song Push. And I feel like that song Push was also very pivotal into this change that you made from what music was before to what it was transitioning at that moment. Right? What about that moment, and what about that time and that song that made you want to, push towards that? Oh, I didn't even realize I did that. But made you want to do that transition and that change?
I think what had happened was like during, the whole album process, like I had no idea what I wanted, like visually, even musically, like sonically. And so like obviously like with the songs off of Lovers and Friends, like they're super pop, and the writing is like me, but like the sounds are definitely coming from like the producers. And like it's cool, like I was able to like give up myself and like kind of explore, and I learned a lot. But I think at that same time, like I was really lost in like trying to find like myself in my music, and like also just like my confidence. And so I think 2021, like I was going through like a lot. I cut all my hair off. I had really long hair before that, and I cut my hair off and I went blonde, because like I was just like kind of just like, fuck, like I need to do something different. Like I need to like just feel what it feels like just to like make a change. And so like I kind of went drastic. But you're talking about that song Push. I don't know if you're kind of referring to like just the video.
Yeah, because even in the video, you do see that. You mentioned how like you're holding on to something and kind of letting it go, right?
Yeah.
So it's all of that coming also together with the music, right?
Yeah. So in that video, like I was, pretty much bare, like bare naked. It's kind of the camera's swirling around. It's like a loop, and I'm holding the Crazy Love dress because Crazy Love has just been such a staple for like my career. And like I wanted to kind of showcase like I'm still holding on to that, but like I'm also wanting to like grow and like move beyond that.
At that moment you were kind of letting go, and how pivotal and how impactful that specific song Crazy Love has been for your career. And at that moment, but you were letting go of that, or was it a moment? Was it the feeling? What about Crazy Love was it that you felt you were letting go?
I think because like Crazy Love has been such a big song, like I want other songs to grow, and it's Crazy Love. I think it's just a monster. It's just like gonna keep growing, and it's like living its own life. But I think in that moment, like I was showing like wanting to let go, but also showing like deep appreciation for something that like I've held on to for like so long. But yeah, I was at that moment like. Yeah. I was in it. I was in it.
Is it kind of what, because I want to ask, like, do you ever get tired of like performing it, or is it like kind of like, no? Okay.
No, that song's like always in the set. Like it doesn't get old.
That's awesome. Because in a way I feel like sometimes artists might get tired of performing a song, but it's like that's sometimes what people go to see you for, right? It's that big song. Do you feel like most recently you have that moment again?
Like the same momentum,
or the same moment where you had at that time of like letting go of the old, like kind of like this transition period. Do you feel like you're in that period again?
I feel like I am again. Like I feel like I'm starting to think differently and starting to like kind of see like where I've been. Because obviously it's been 10 years. So like you're going to want to look back and see like, wow, like what's been working and what hasn't, because like the music industry is just, it's a very interesting industry. Everybody kind of like knows each other, and like everybody's kind of like seen you, and like they have opinions. And, I think with the album, like I heard like just like a lot of different opinions about it. But like definitely like, I feel like I'm learning like how to just own myself and show appreciation for like my journey. And like I think that's why I always bring up like evolving. Like people are like watching me evolve, like whoever's been like watching, they've seen me like where I've been, like just different stages, and like I see myself as well. Like I think when I'm in it, like I don't see it, but like looking back, like I see like how much I've been through, how many experiences like have like impacted me. And I think moving forward, like I think I'm always going to be evolving.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier as well that you're going more into it's kind of in a way you're tapping back into what you started with, and more of the R&B type of type of way. What made you want to go back to that in a way?
I think I just love playing piano. Like I love like the rawness of it, and like I think my art, it just gravitates towards that soulfulness, and just like a lot of emotion that comes, because like I'm a very emotional person. I'm a Scorpio, so just watch out. but yeah, like just like being able to just share like a part of me like unapologetically. And I think like with the piano, like you can do that with your instrument. Like you can do that when there's like all these like different like elements behind you, because like we've performed with like backing tracks, and like it's just like you're stuck in that. But like as you're playing like freely like on piano, and like that's what we did for the residency. Like it was just me and my partner Carolyn, and we brought a performance that was just very like raw, and just like whatever happened.
Yeah.
So we decided like we don't want to play with like backing tracks, and we really enjoyed that. Yeah. And so that's made me think like, wow, like I really want to like make a statement with like I'm a piano, like I love playing piano, like that's how I write. And so just the rawness of it is like what I'm kind of gravitating towards.
I also want to ask you about that, because in that time period of Lovers and Friends, you were also receiving mentorship with Carla Morrison, right? How is that relationship now? Is it still like a close one? Is it still like a mentorship kind of thing? Especially because your music is also changing, you know? Does she help also playing a role? Is this kind of more yourself? I kind of want to know more about that as well.
Yeah, so I think Carla's like been like super supportive. I mean, we started working together in like the end of 2016 and then 2017, and she was involved in the process of like kind of like choosing the songs that would be like on Lovers and Friends. But like just talking to her about just like, because like I was losing like my confidence, and her telling me like it's not about you, like it's about like everybody's gonna interpret the songs how they want, and it's like for them. So like that mentorship like helped me like kind of see that. But since then, like we've just kind of become friends, like more so, and like just kind of like, hey, what are you up to? Like, let's go hang out. Like, are you free? She's never free. But we've hung out like a few times, and like definitely like it's developed into like a friendship.
Is there a balance that you have between that, or how do you approach that? Because your songs are very personal, right? But then Carla's telling you like also like it's not about you at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you balance those two things at the same time?
You can't. You just gotta like set it free. I think knowing like as you perform it, like it's coming from a personal place, and like people are gonna feel that, and then they're gonna feel their own personal place when they hear it. Their experiences are gonna come into like whatever lyric they hear, whatever melody they feel. Like it's gonna be their experience. So that's the balance that takes place. It's like you're not in control of that.
Yeah, it's like you're building a life on the song, right?
Yeah, like take it, like it's yours. Like you're gonna interpret it how you interpret it, because you're living your life.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know that a lot of the music is also a collaboration between you and Carolyn. Has that also like relationship and collaboration changed over time with the music that's changing?
Yeah, so before Lovers and Friends, and even during like Lovers and Friends, like I've had more of a heavy hand on just like the writing that I put out under like Irene Diaz. But like after the whole album process, like I was able to see like how the two producers were like working, like deconstructing like the songs, working on Ableton. So 2020 was a pivotal moment, because obviously like the pandemic happened and there was nothing going on. And so we both spent a lot of time like kind of like producing, and I got on Ableton. I learned a lot, and so we produced like maybe like a handful of songs and writing, and like I feel like we developed like a relationship, a different part of our relationship with music and with each other, because like as I was like producing, like Carolyn would come in and be like, oh, like why don't you move this here, why don't you do this, like oh let's try this, let me try this bass line, like it was like a true collaboration, and like yeah, it was just so much fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Another thing I saw, and I think one of the main ways I also became connected to your music was because you really learned, or at least know how to navigate the TikTok world, right?
Oh,
because it's like you're like, if you like this, then this, right? So it's a lot of that. But a cool thing about that was that your music was able to also reach the ears of Hope Sandoval, right?
Yeah.
How was that for you?
Oh my God, that was insane. Like, I have no idea how that happened, but the fucking universe was just like crazy. Like, her niece is online. Like, I think Hope Sandoval is like not online. So her niece ended up like finding that video, and she shared it with her, and then she, told her like, oh, I like it. And so that's how that connection kind of like formed. Like, Oh my God, meeting Hope Sandoval. Imagine, like,
Do you hope to?
Yeah, that'd be amazing. But she's from East LA, and like it's interesting because like I think some of my family, I think my tia's husband's family knows her family and grew up with her family.
Oh wow!
So it's just like kind of an interesting connection. That's like it's close.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's because Hope Sandoval, like you were saying, not a lot of people know, but she's from East LA, and it's like her music has been very, very instrumental and very like impactful in many ways. Is that something you hope for your music?
Oh yeah, I hope to like just be, just being like okay, let the music like just like I feel like Crazy Love is like one of those songs where like. As far as it goes, like I feel like it's gonna just keep growing because like it's still growing after like 10 years, and I feel like it could be one of those like Fade Into You songs, like for me, my version of Fade Into You.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it kind of leads to my last question. And you kind of touched upon it here, but do you have a vision for yourself and for your music?
Oh, do I have a vision? I have a vision of. I'd love to keep performing, and I'd love to make like an album that is very raw and almost like going back to like when the EP began. Like I feel like I want to like reach that again, but with all the experience that I've come with over the past 10 years, like I just want to bring it to that next stage of recording and performing. And just keep growing. Like I want to travel like a lot more, and just like have these songs where people like, have them in their lives. They share it like during their special moments, and like I feel like that's already happened, but like I want that to continue more.
Yeah. Sorry, just building off of that because your song gets played a lot at weddings, right?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's like a wedding song.
Yeah.
And does that mean something to you, like that it's being used at weddings and stuff?
Yeah, I think at first, like, because I think of weddings and I think of like just all of that. It's a big industry, but like it's a very special moment for like many people, and like to be a part of that, like I think that's where my like heart lies. It's just like we played this past year we did an engagement. And we performed Crazy Love, and then I performed I Love You Madly. And we also, that same weekend, we did a wedding, like a first dance. And I felt so like just warmth in my heart, just bringing like knowing that it's not about me. Like, this is not about me. This is about you. And like, I'm here to give you something for your moment. And it just felt so heartwarming for me to be like at a point where I'm like, damn, like, yeah, this is beautiful to be a part of those like special moments, but also know like it's not about me at all. Like I like that because like when you're performing, it's like, okay, like look at me, like, you're on stage and stuff, but like, no, like they're the performance. They're my performance.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming through and for being a part of this.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there anything coming up? Anything you'd like to I know this will probably be released after the LeBeau concert, but is there anything after that you're excited for? Yeah,
so I'm going to be performing in Culver City on August 17th. I'll have that like on my website. But yeah, I'm just going to continue like putting out music. Do you want to Instagram and stuff, all of that.
Do you have is there anything else that we can know about the upcoming project? About the is it going to be released this year, next year? I don't know. Anything you could say about it? I think I'm just putting the pieces together right now. Okay. So yeah. Okay. I'm like, interview me in 6 months. We will. Thank you so much. Thank you, Irene. I appreciate your time. Thank you.